If your car is having trouble starting or if it's not getting the power it needs, then there's a good chance that your fuel pressure regulator is bad. This part is responsible for ensuring that the correct amount of fuel pressure reaches your engine. If it isn't working properly, then you're going to have problems. Symptoms of a bad fuel pressure regulator include rough idle, engine stalling, misfire, and the check engine light coming on. Replacing the regulator is the best way to resolve the issue, but you might have to clean or replace parts that were affected by it for a prolonged period of time. What does a fuel pressure regulator do? A fuel pressure regulator is a device that controls the amount of fuel that flows from the tank to the engine. It is usually located between the fuel pump and the carburetor or fuel injectors. The fuel pressure regulator regulates the pressure of the fuel in the system by opening and closing a valve. This valve is open when the engine is running and closed when the engine is not running. The fuel pressure regulator also has a spring that helps keep the fuel pressure constant. How do you adjust a fuel pressure regulator? It is important to adjust the fuel pressure regulator when you first notice a problem with your engine's performance. Adjusting the fuel pressure regulator can be done by a professional mechanic or you can do it yourself. However, if you are not sure how to adjust the fuel pressure regulator, you should take your car to a qualified mechanic to have it done. When adjusting the fuel pressure regulator, you will need to turn the engine off and disconnect the battery. Next, locate the fuel pressure regulator and loosen the lock nut that holds it in place. Turn the engine on and slowly turn the adjustment screw clockwise until the needle on the gauge moves up to the proper position. Once you have adjusted the fuel pressure regulator, reconnect the battery and start the engine. Allow the engine to warm up for several minutes before driving. This will help the engine to adjust to the new fuel pressure. If you are still having problems with your engine's performance after adjusting the fuel pressure regulator, you may need to replace it. A qualified mechanic can do this for you. 10 symptoms of a bad fuel pressure regulator. Number 1. Engine stalling. If your car stalls, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 2. Rough idle. If your engine idles roughly, it could be a sign of a problem with the fuel pressure regulator. Number 3. Check engine light is on. If the check engine light comes on, it could be a sign of a problem with the fuel pressure regulator. Number 4. Fuel leak. If you notice a fuel leak, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 5. Car won't start. If your car doesn't start, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 6. Engine misfires. If your engine misfires, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 7. Poor fuel economy. If you notice a decrease in fuel economy, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 8. Car hesitates when accelerating. If your car hesitates when you try to accelerate, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 9. Black or dirty exhaust smoke. If you notice black or dirty exhaust smoke coming from your car, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. Number 10. Surging or jerking while driving. If you notice your car surging or jerking while you are driving, it could be a sign that the fuel pressure regulator is not working properly. What causes fuel pressure regulator problems? There are several things that can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 1. Dirty fuel filter. If the fuel filter is dirty, it can restrict the flow of fuel to the engine and cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 2. Faulty fuel pump. If the fuel pump is not working properly, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 3. Wiring problems. If there are wiring problems, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 4. Vacuum leaks. If there are vacuum leaks, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 5. Carbon deposits. If there are carbon deposits on the fuel pressure regulator, it can cause it to fail. Number 6. Clogged fuel injectors. If the fuel injectors are clogged, it can restrict the flow of fuel to the engine and cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 7. Thermostat problems. If the thermostat is not working properly, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 8. Faulty oxygen sensor. If the oxygen sensor is not working properly, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 9. Fuel pressure regulator valve stuck open. If the fuel pressure regulator valve is stuck open, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. Number 10. Fuel pressure regulator valve stuck closed. If the fuel pressure regulator valve is stuck closed, it can cause the fuel pressure regulator to fail. How to prevent fuel pressure regulator problems? There are several things you can do to prevent fuel pressure regulator problems. 1. Use the correct grade of fuel. 2. Use a fuel additive to help keep your fuel system clean. 3. Change your fuel filter regularly. 4. Have your car's ignition system serviced regularly. 5. Have your car's fuel system serviced regularly. 6. Keep your car's engine tuned up properly. 7. Don't let your car's gas tank run too low. 8. Don't use cheap gasoline or gasoline with ethanol in it. 9. Don't use aftermarket parts that are not approved by the car manufacturer. 10. Do not try to repair the fuel pressure regulator yourself if you don't have enough mechanical knowledge. How much does it cost to repair the fuel pressure regulator? The cost of repairing the fuel pressure regulator can vary depending on the problem. If you need to replace the fuel pressure regulator, it can cost between $250 and $700. If you need to repair a vacuum leak, it can cost between $150 and $200. If you need to replace the fuel filter, it can cost between $30 and $100. What happens if the fuel pressure regulator is stuck open? If the fuel pressure regulator is stuck open, it will cause the engine to run lean. This means that there is not enough fuel being delivered to the engine, and the engine will not run properly. The check engine light may come on, and the engine may hesitate or stall. The engine may also run rough. If you suspect that your fuel pressure regulator is stuck open, have the vehicle inspected as soon as possible. To summarize what we talked about in this video, a bad fuel pressure regulator can cause a variety of problems with your car. If you suspect that your fuel pressure regulator is not working properly, it is important to have it checked out as soon as possible. There are several things you can do to prevent fuel pressure regulator problems, such as using the correct grade of fuel and changing your fuel filter regularly. If a fuel pressure regulator does need to be replaced, it is important to use a qualified mechanic who has the knowledge and experience to do the job correctly. While most people think that a bad fuel pressure regulator will only cause their car to have starting issues, there are actually quite a few different symptoms that can be caused by a failing or damaged fuel pressure regulator. I hope this video helped. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and follow so you don't miss any of my videos.